Hi, I'm Katie, and welcome to Hey It Gets Better. This is the podcast where I chat to people about the ups and downs of their lives and how they got to where they are now. Life can be pretty tough sometimes, there's no escaping that fact. But at Hey It Gets Better, we're all about talking about the journey. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and remember, hey, it gets better. Hi everyone, I want to welcome Lucy Menghini to the podcast. Lucy is the founder of 6 Stories, which is an online bridal boutique, and she's also had a podcast called Life Design Diaries, and she is a marketing and creative director. So welcome to Hey It Gets Better, Lucy.
Thank you so much, that's really sweet. Thanks for having me.
No worries. 6 Stories is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
The aesthetic is just gorgeous.
Oh, bless you.
I love your Instagram. I think my boyfriend's going to get a heart attack when he just looks at all the wedding stuff I've liked, and it's like, no.
It's been so funny having so many boyfriend and fiance emails over the last couple of weeks, everybody trying to get their brownie points in for ordering. I think loads of people have just been forwarded posts and they're like, hi, I'm looking for this, where can I or I just want some advice on what size to get my missus. So it's been really endearing to speak to all of these partners about gifting for Christmas, which has been nice.
Yeah, I've never actually thought of it the other way around.
Yeah. yeah, it's really sweet. No, it's really nice. But the Instagram and all of the imagery and stuff, we work really hard to try and make sure that looks all very pretty and lovely for our lovely customers.
Well, it definitely does. So thank you so much for coming on Hey It Gets Better, and I'm really excited to really talk about your story, about how you got to where you are now. So I want to ask you the question that I ask kind of everyone coming into this podcast, which is what challenges have you faced to kind of get to where you are now and in your journey? So it's super broad, and you can take it literally wherever you want to take it.
Okay, no, cool, good. Broad is good. Okay, challenges. I mean, I could literally go right back to school. So I'm really dyslexic, and my friends take the mick out of me often because I put loads of Instagram stories up on my personal or on the 6 Stories ones without really proofreading it or getting one of the guys in the team to have a read, and it'll be just full of random words, and so I still make lots of errors with that even today. But yeah, as a kid, it just kind of held me back a lot. I stayed on at sixth form by hook or by crook. I had to resit some GCSEs and do lots of extra after school lessons, and had a private tutor and stuff, so that I could stay on at school because I originally wanted to be a teacher. And I had one of the senior teachers sit me down and say, I just don't think you're cut out for education. You might as well be at home and have a baby, is what she said. You might as well, I remember it literally clear as day, you might as well be at home sat on a sofa with a baby, basically. And yeah, it was awful. And I was really devastated because I've worked really hard to try and get to where I'd got to. So sort of that knock of your confidence, I think, has been a trial, because I think nowadays you can really celebrate your differences, and actually now I know that the bits that I find difficult actually are what make me so creative, or makes me think in lots of different ways, and you can't have it all, right? So it took me a long time to understand that my sort of self-worth and self-confidence and stuff needs to come from the positives rather than the bad bits, which are my struggles, so yeah, so I mean that meant that I really kind of grappled around, didn't know what I wanted to do for a long time, and I ended up doing my A-levels. Didn't do too bad. I think I got C's and D's, which I was pretty pleased with, to be honest. And I decided not to go to university. I went straight into a management course with Sainsbury's. I was already working as a Saturday girl there, and they offered it, and it's an 18-month fast track course to be in a department manager in store, you know, so it's not like glamorous or anything like that. It's as far from glam as you could possibly get. But it taught me so much about like just a really decent work ethic, working all the high days and holidays, being 18 and having to performance manage someone that's 5 times your age, or, you know. So yeah, I did that for a couple of years, and then moved up to Manchester from a tiny little town in Wiltshire, and then kind of had the curtains pulled back really, and I stepped into the world of marketing, and then everything kind of fell into place from there really. So yeah, it's all been very like by hook or by crook, my career, if I'm honest with you.
But it's so good that you didn't, you didn't listen to that teacher, and that is horrible to hear. And I think, look at you now, like you're expecting a baby, and you've also got a massive, amazing career, which
Yeah, nice, cool. Yeah, so and yeah, well, the last couple of years have been kind of the biggest step change, really. So, I started working for a very small digital marketing agency in the sales team, and they kind of like focused on recruitment. It again was quite a, I don't know, you know what agent? Do you know? Have you worked in an agency? Am I right in thinking you've worked agency side? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, you know, you kind of get the gist. It's like can be quite challenging, and you get some right characters. So again, that's very much like character building for yourself. So I kind of stepped into marketing there, selling lots of different, like, everything from SEO to paid social content marketing, and then kind of hopped around a bit, you know, like trying to see what's going on. And I really enjoyed the actual marketing rather than the sales side. And I very randomly went into an agency called Social Chain, which was like this tiny little company. There was about 20 kids, and honestly, when I say kids, they were kids, like 20, 23-year olds, working for this marketing agency in Manchester. And I'd come across them because they were on the Gadget Show. They'd made something go viral in 20 minutes on Twitter, and I was like,
Oh,
what is this company? I knew exactly where it was in Manchester, in the city, and I just thought I have to go in and meet these guys. I'm just fascinated. I'm super nosy. So I prospected the CEO, Steve Bartlett, and went in and basically was absolutely taken by all of these kids that were just doing marketing so differently, and just we're going from strength to strength really, and we're working with massive brands. So we've got these kids like that, they were a couple of years younger than me, that were working with the likes of Nike and just
oh,
just
wow.
ridiculous, you know, Apple, and they were doing all of their social media marketing, doing like big stunts and big campaigns and making things go viral and stuff. And I just was really taken aback by these kids, like I said. And I walked out of there saying to Steve, your company is just amazing. You must be recruiting like crazy at the moment. And he said, yeah, why do you want a job? And I was like, yeah, yeah, I want to be part of this. This is so good. And he said, well, write me a job description, send it over, and we'll go from there. So at that time, I was in sales, marketing sales, but I really wanted to make the transition over into marketing myself. But I didn't have a degree, and, you know, I'd only ever gone in and sold it. So I think when you go in and you have to almost be the marketing manager on behalf of an agency when you're trying to sell to, say, I don't know, Nike,
Yeah.
you know, you have to have a really good understanding of what works and what their customer wants. And so I think I picked up, you know, enough to be able to warrant being in that role. But obviously, going into a company and saying, oh, I don't have a degree or anything, but I'd love to be part of your marketing department, it was going to be near on impossible when you're competing against people that have got the qualification. So I basically typed out this like marketing director position and just sent it to Steve and said, this is what I want to do for you. And he was like, yeah, okay, cool, come and join the team. And that was it. So I then joined them for a couple of
Amazing.
years, and they went from strength to strength. And I left when there was about 100 100 members of staff, and they had offices in London, Berlin, New York, and it was insane, like what I learned from them. And just, yeah, the experience and stuff was just absolutely out of this world. And they really taught me that marketing, and in particular kind of like the digital space, tech, moves so quickly. You can make your own rules. You know, we never hired someone who just sent a CV in. We always looked for the really creative ways for people to come and get involved in our business.
Yeah.
One of the content directors, Hannah Anderson, amazing girl. She is obsessed with Harry Potter, and actually created she's got this like Twitter account which has got millions of people that follow it. J.K. Rowling follows it. You know, it's like the cream of Harry
Oh,
Potter.
wow.
So this particular person really wanted to come and create content for the agency, and they brought in an owl and made
Oh
it
my
fly
days.
onto like it was this whole Harry Potter kind of job interview thing. So, you know, that's how creative and how out of the box thinking we were at
That's
the
phenomenal.
agency. Yeah, it was really cool. Like if you are interested in marketing and social media marketing, Steve, he doesn't work there anymore, but he does have a really cool podcast and stuff. You should definitely check out Social Chain and the team, because they're really cool. So learned loads from there, but I kind of, I don't know, sort of got to a point where I felt like I'd kind of worked myself out of the role effectively. Like we had such a good team around us, and I was just ready to try something new. I started 6 Stories on the side because I was getting married myself, and I just really loved the idea of having my own bridal store or doing something in the industry. Like I was just, my brain was going, oh, I'm getting married and I love all of this, and I really want to do something for myself, and it just kind of merged. So yeah, when I got married, I had a good couple of weeks off, and I said to Steve, essentially, I'm not coming back, and he was like, yeah, fine. And we parted on lovely terms and stuff. So went off and got married, and then me and my husband, who also worked for an agency, decided that we loved Southeast Asia and traveling, and just were really taken by Bali in particular. We thought, why doesn't he also become self-employed, and we'll just book one-way tickets and see where the world kind of takes us, really. So we did that across 2018 whilst we were consulting and building various businesses. I did like a cool Kickstarter with my cousin, and like dabbled in loads and loads of different things. And then when we got back, we kind of, 6 Stories was always a bit of an undercurrent, really, because it was a handmade offering, predominantly selling on Etsy. But we hit 2019 and something just went absolutely mental, and everything started really kicking off. So we thought, right, let's put all of our eggs in this basket, and started taking it really seriously, and built our own website, and just kind of began to build the brand, as well as working on our own podcast agency, which is called Hear and Tell. and and then 2020 came along, and we had massive plans. Everything was really exciting. And then, of course, we had that, I think it was the 23rd of March, when
Yeah.
Boris sat down and said, you're going to have to stay at home, and everything's basically shut. And I don't really think the consequence of that hit me for a good couple of days, that everything really was closing down, and people weren't going to be, you know, I was that typical British, like, oh, for God's sake, it's only going to go for a couple of weeks, so it's never going to,
Yeah.
you know, how this year has ended up is not, I would never have bet any money on it ending up like this. So we had to really think on our feet and change things around quite quick. And actually we've come out, well, hopefully coming out the other end, if it is the end,
Yeah.
better than we went in. So yeah, it's been an interesting one to kind of take us from this tiny little Etsy business that was kind of like I don't know, a little handmade flower girl offering to this really
Yeah.
cool, um, we want to be like everything but the dress. We just want to be a one-stop destination for brides to come and just feel wonderful about themselves and be like that ultimate lifestyle brand for not just for brides to be, because like you say, we have some really gorgeous products which aren't necessarily bridal. And that's kind of an interesting crossroads that we're at the moment, is how we encapsulate that really special bridal journey, but also we appeal to lovely other people as
Yeah.
well who want to shop with us.
No, definitely. It's one thing I really kind of gained from like hearing your story and just thinking about it is that you don't know what's gonna happen and what's gonna work really well. You just don't know. So like if you don't take a chance on things and you don't try, then you'll never find out like what could have been.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, Tim Ferriss is like one of my favourites to go back to for a bit of inspiration. And one of the things that he says all the time is, what's the worst that can happen? You know, just try.
That's
What is the worst that can happen? So yeah, and I love that. I just think about that all the time.
I think that's so important when you're young as well and you're like just starting out, like you've just graduated uni. Something I find is like just trying stuff and
Yeah.
seeing what works for me, like doing like a bit like of off page SEO, realizing I don't like that. I'm really not as good as it as I thought, but then finding other stuff I'm like I really like that. That's what I'm good at. And you don't know that stuff unless you try, and you have to be willing to try and fail at it really.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. 100%. It's all and you, the thing the thing that people forget is they don't know what they know until they like kind of step away from it and come back to it. You get so like bogged down in your day to day, and like it's really hard to like give yourself a bit of credit and just go and sit in front of someone you don't know and talk to them about something that you're interested in, or I don't know, it's kind of like I was helping a friend with
Yeah.
their CV, and I said, but don't just fire this out to a recruiter, like you'd be a fool. Go on LinkedIn, go on Twitter, find the person that you need to speak to from a really cool brand that you're interested in. Just go and buy them a coffee. Like people are just
Yeah.
people at the end of the day, aren't they? So yeah, I think that, and also with kind of everything going on at the moment, I think particularly people that have just come out of uni, or they maybe have been let go from their job. Yes, a horrendous time, but also there are businesses that are doing really well out there. You just need to go and put yourself in the right place, right time. Just keep doing it again and again, and you'll eventually get there.
Definitely. And I think something that's kind
Yeah,
of like I think about where like hearing you say that as well is that what you I can't remember, heard it from someone, but it's like what you might find is like quite comes quite natural to you doesn't mean it's like any like like harder for someone else. It's not, I can't remember explaining this the wrong way, but it's like, you know, when you if you think creatively and creative ideas come natural to you, it can be easier to put that kind of down when, for example, you're making spelling mistakes in like Instagram captions and things like that. What comes natural to you might not come natural to someone else, and that's your kind of gold. That's what makes you special.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I feel quite ashamed sometimes, which is quite a strong word, but it is the right word really, to get things wrong like that, or you know, because I shouldn't be making those mistakes. But then a friend rightly pointed out, yeah, but that's why people enjoy it. You know, it's very real. You know, and again, I think we're at a bit of a turn of the time almost, where people don't want this like Instagram filtered, perfect, ideal life. You, I mean, I don't know whether it's just in my feed, but I feel like there's such a almost like just people pushing against that.
Definitely. No, completely. And
Yeah,
it's it's something where people want to see what is real, and
yeah,
especially where now I think people are more encouraged to unfollow the things that make them feel bad.
yeah. yeah, we're learning how to live with social media, aren't we? Have you watched that documentary on Netflix? Oh God, what's it called?
Social Dilemma.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah, have you watched that? Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it. I do need to watch it.
Oh my God, you need to watch it. Yeah. So, like we are not built, our brains do not have the capacity to deal with all of this information, to deal with. There's a really good part in it. It's very much about the psychology of social media as much as anything else, which I think is fascinating. One of the parts, and this is not a quote, but they talk about how our brains are only like tuned to deal with 7 pieces of people's feedback or something like that. And of course, you put something out there online and you've got 20,000 people that are going to potentially come back to you. Or so we're really having to learn and adapt and understand what best parts of social we can use, and what are the bits that we need to really move away from and be well aware of. So it's all learning, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's really, really interesting. I do think the last couple of years, with like everything that went down with the last American election and stuff, and how social was used to manipulate people, I think everybody's been a little bit wiser. And of course, all of this like anti-vaccine stuff that's being spread around everywhere, which is just a load of nonsense. Yeah, I think everybody's just getting a bit wiser, aren't they? I hope they are anyway.
It is something that I think we are all learning to kind of deal with, and it's kind of more being spoken about.
Oh yeah, 1,000,000%. Like the whole, when you get your notification of your phone, you're like an absolute slave to it, because it's that like dopamine boost that you get all the time. Like, oh, someone's got in touch with me. Someone's got in touch with me. And we're not supposed to have those boosts all the time, so it's like learning how to just put your phone in a box, or I've turned all notifications off on my phone. When I want to go on my phone, I go on it, not the other way around. Which has been the most like liberating thing ever, because at the beginning of the fatigue of being in front of your screen, particularly if you are working in front of a laptop, I just found that like I'm sat in front of my laptop all day. I'm using my phone to manage the social for the business. And then at the end of the day, when I'm trying to rest or catch up with loved ones, I literally cannot bear to pick up my phone. Just that like anxiety of the business being on the phone and just being on the screen all the time. I just needed the break, and to get the BBC bloody news notifications turned off. You just don't need. Ignorance is absolutely bliss. I really believe in that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I've not been taking my phone to bed for a long time. It stays on charge in another room. Like it just makes me sleep better for sure. If I wake up in the night and my phone's next to my bed, I'm like, oh, might as well just have a little look. But you don't need to. It's just unnecessary, isn't it? But anyway, we digress.
Yes.
Yeah, I just think it's an interesting one to like. You sometimes, if you are, if you're particularly creative or that way inclined, you just need to have those breaks in your brain. You can't process that information all the time. You need some silence. It's a reason why you come up with ideas in the shower, and it's because you're not sat in front of your bloody phone.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something I've had to learn as well, is kind of how to let myself be creative, because
Yeah.
I think when you look at like how we're taught in school, there is no real break in stuff. It's like you go to school 8 hours a day, you go home, you do your homework, you revise, and it's very much like just taking in information. But when you need to be creative, you need to actually like do nothing. You need to let your brain work.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's something I've had to learn kind of like myself, and also appreciate that that's actually, even though you're doing nothing so you can create something.
Yeah, yeah, 1,000,000%. Yeah, could not agree more. I just get really tired if I don't have time to like just have a quiet mind. Which is interesting, because my husband, who works with me on the business, he's very data driven, very process driven. So he's like really, really wants to have lots of conversation about the detail quite a lot of the time, But I'm like, no, it's fine. We'll just work it out. Give me some time to dwell on it, you know. So we kind of like yin and yang with each other all the time in terms of how, you know, his
Yeah.
process helps with my creativeness, which is quite interesting. I mean, it generally is positive.
I think you do need like two
Yeah,
sides.
definitely. Yeah, 1,000,000%. Yeah, definitely. It's good. Well, it works for us anyway. So
So you and your husband Ross have been
yeah,
together since you were 16?
yeah, that's right. Went to school together.
I don't know. Is it weird for me to do this? Because I know he's in the room as well.
No, it's okay. You can't hear. He's got his. He's just bought the new AirPods, and
Oh,
every day he talks to me about the noise cancelling and how fantastic it is.
that's great. But I mean, like, I think that, one part of well about like, hey, it gets better and like growing up in life is the relationships you're in. And
Mhm.
I mean, you might like, what has made your relationship work so well and last so long?
Um, I think a couple of things. We are very much our own people, and we know that we need to have our own thing. You know, we're definitely, although we've been together a long time, and we've been traveling, and we've worked together. We've always kind of worked with each other in various different ways, but we really really do keep things not separate, that's a bit strong, but like Ross goes out and plays football and we've got our own sets of friends and we're
Yeah,
very much our own person, and then we come back together. And the other thing I think that's important to note is we're not the same people we were when we were kids or when we just moved to Manchester or at the beginning of the year even. And we very much like appreciate the different growth times that we've kind of gone in, you know, when Ross might have got another job or I might have done something different and we experience different things. We very much support and complement each other, and we kind of like don't expect each other to be still. You know, we want the best for one another, and we absolutely 100% support one another as much as we are like competitive with one another, and we want to like surprise um, and impress one another. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
we kind of keep it really fresh, and I think like obviously like trust, being loyal,
yeah,
is all very, you know, very very important. But we also really are aware that we're just two humans, and we kind of want best for one another, um, and we know that we are growing and we kind of grow together. If you see what I mean,
yeah,
and support where we need to. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's like a magic line other than just being there, being supportive, being patient with one another. But I think that we're also incredibly lucky.
yeah,
And I think that there is, and it's something that I want to bring into Six Stories, is you don't need this like 2.0 nuclear life, you know. You Some people are very happy on their own or being in lots of different relationships, or do you know what I mean? I think
yeah,
it's almost quite a lot of pressure that's on people today to find the one, but actually you just need to bloody love yourself. That's probably the biggest piece of advice actually. we
yeah.
are we are quite selfish people to ourselves, so you know, and that means that when we come back together we're both really good people together. I think that's probably another thing, you
Yeah,
know.
who says it's like you I don't I want to say RuPaul says this, but it might not be, but it's like if you can't love yourself, you can't love anyone else.
Yeah, it is RuPaul. It definitely is RuPaul. Yeah, if you can't love yourself, how are you going to
That's
love
it.
somebody else? Yeah, that's exactly it. 100%. Yeah, and we you know very very aware of how each other are all the time. You know, if one of us is having a down day or whatever, we'll do what we need for the other person. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest. The biggest piece of advice is
Yeah,
loving
and I
yourself
think
first.
one thing about that as well
Sure.
is that it takes time as well, and it goes through
Yeah.
like you go through kind of like different experiences of loving yourself. Like I've had days where I'm like like, you know, I don't love myself. I'm actually like quite mean to myself. But then I have days where I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, you've got this. Look at everything you're doing. You're bossing it.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
absolutely
it's up and
nailing it.
down. And I think that's something as well. Like,
Yeah.
there's not like a switch that you flick and you love yourself. It's a journey. And
Yeah.
I think part of that is, you know, appreciating that some days are gonna be harder than others. And then, you know, when you're in a
Yeah.
relationship as well, like, you know, some of those days will be you'll need to be the person supporting, and some days you'll be supported.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt. And just being open and honest, being like, do you know what? Today I just feel really, really grumpy. Just leave me alone. You know, I've had a very, very, very easy pregnancy without too much drama or
Yeah,
stress or whatever. But you know, there have been some days where I've just been so emotional and I'm like, I'm just not feeling it today. I just need to sleep, and just letting that person be.
because there's also that other side. I think, you know, when you're in a relationship, you don't need to spend every day like, you don't need to spend all the time together,
No,
and
definitely absence makes the heart grow fonder, without a shadow of a doubt. You need to go and have your own holidays with the girls and get away, and it gives you something about yourself, you know?
yeah.
You just get stuck if you're together every bloody day of the week. Which we have been this
Yeah.
year, but it's been okay.
Ah, well, you'll have a little someone else to break it up, you know,
I
soon. You're gonna
know.
have
Oh my god, that is terrifying. I tell you, that is the one thing that's frightening me to death. I know that it's going to be wonderful, but we do keep joking about, like, we've got this little person joining the team in 11 weeks that's going to suck away all of our freedom.
Oh,
Yeah, it should be
it will
fun.
be rewarding in the end.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of that.
I've got no experience of it. I've just like I've been the kid, but you'll get to they'll buy you stuff when they're older, like, and successful. That's what my dad always says to me. He's like, "Oh, you can buy me my boat," and that's like what I've done for this time. So
Oh, that's nice. I love that. I like the trust that he has
yeah.
in you, that you're
Well,
gonna
it's his
get him the boat.
investment, like, but it is one of those things. It's just like it is weird. I can like becoming an adult's just weird.
Yeah, it is weird. I know, I was joking with someone today, like, turn 30, move out of the city, get pregnant, like, it's sort of very serious all of a sudden. Oh god. But yeah, it is the way that it is, isn't it? So, but yeah, going back to what you said about
Yeah.
feeling up and down. I don't know whether you've started Untamed.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
How are you getting on with it? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I have to take breaks from so like
It's very intense, isn't it?
yeah, so this book's called Untamed by Glennon Doyle, and the chapters are like I've never had a book like this where
Mm.
they're quite like short chapters, and they're like different points in her life. I always have to so I have to take a break after reading it.
It's very deep. Yeah, I listened to it rather than read it, and the amount of times Ross walked in on me and I was like crying my eyes out. But one of her big things throughout the book is that you've just got to feel it, like, and that means that you're doing life right, not that you're doing life wrong. And that was one of the biggest things I took away from it. Like, oh, it's totally fine that I feel like crap today, or oh, it's fine that I'm disappointed with myself, or that I'm scared, or that it is all of those things that kind of make you a human being and pushes you along. There's also another really, really good book called The Obstacle Is the Way, which I tell everybody about, and it's like, through any adversity you can come out better because you've learned something, and it's like very, very stoic, but it's really, really, really good read. Might be a good one for you, actually.
Yeah, I know. I've just made a note of
Yeah, it's really, really good. Ryan Holiday, I think, is the author. I keep looking at the bookshelf, but I've lent it out to somebody. Books are the best. I just, I'm probably like one of my only friends that read self-help books, and I'm always like sprouting off, oh, you need to read this. But I just think they're just the best. I've learned more from the books that I've read, I think, than a lot of the people that I've worked for or at school or
Yeah.
whatever.
They are really good, and I think
Yeah, you just got to be in the right frame of mind,
that's the
haven't
thing,
you,
you
to be able to like take it in.
you have to learn how to, because you have to learn how to read them, I think, because
Yeah.
so I read, like, I literally love my Kindle. I'm on a 43-day reading streak. I'm so proud of myself.
Wow, that's great.
And but I read, like, I have to read, like, kind of like fantasy, really, like, this isn't like class literature, but I need to read that to go to,
Twilight.
yeah, but like better. But I read that stuff because I need that to turn my mind off.
Yeah.
Um, and for ages, I was trying to read self-help books before I go to bed
Uh-huh.
because that's when I used to read, and it didn't work because I would literally stay up all night.
The lights turn on, don't they? Yeah, I know. I know. I've been reading about birthing before going to bed and then having the most horrific dreams. So I've quickly nipped that in the bud.
But like when you learn how to read self-help books, like, so now I will read them like when I'm having like a tea break, and I'll just sit down and read it like that. When you learn to read them, they help so much. Like I
Yeah.
don't think you can just read them off the, like, unless you're like amazing and you can like take that deep stuff in and still go to bed. But I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think like going back to them, there's a couple. There's another one which is called Atomic Habits, which is really, really good. One of my favorite books that I
Yeah,
go back to and reread. And also I've got it like in paper, but I've got it on an audio. Just because I think sometimes you need to take it on board in maybe a different way, which I think is really helpful as well. But yeah, I mean, you can find a book for anything at the moment, can't you? I've actually just bought the funniest book. It's called the Fashion Business Manual, and it's like it's so funny. It's got everything in it, from like how to start your fashion business. I just thought it was really interesting. I
yeah.
saw it on Amazon, and it's like a step-by-step plan on building your business. But it's really good. It's kind of like it's a bit of back to basics, which I think is never doesn't harm, does it?
No, and I also love that you can learn so much from a book. Like, now when I have something I need to learn, because obviously I can look at it up online half the time and stuff, but when there's something I want to learn and teach myself, I buy a book. And
Oh, 1,000,000%. Yeah.
uh, that's how my brain works. So like I thought, like, I really want to learn stuff about design. I've got design books now and I'm going through them and I'm like teaching
Mm,
myself it. And there's something so nice just to sit down with it and like a little
yeah.
notepad and take it all in. And you don't stop learning when you finish uni. And I think that's one of the things I've learnt the most this year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Once you think that you've stopped, there you've got a big problem. Yeah, there's like a really old like quote, isn't there? Like the wise man knows that he's still the student, or I don't know. There's like a very famous quote about that.
No, I can't think of it, but I mean, it sounds like something you'd find on like good
Yeah.
quotes or something. But it's true. And I just think, like, I guess that's one of the things I've taken away from this year is it can completely change your perspective on
Hmm.
life because you've had so much time to think and stress and to feel. Like, that was one of the things I loved about, well, I'm still reading Untamed, but I like how she talks about feeling and you're knowing and trusting your knowing.
Yeah, definitely. And just like daring to believe in yourself. I think that's the other thing. You know, that all of these things happen to us and like, yeah, it's difficult and but actually, you know, if you can just take heed and take a breath, trust yourself. It doesn't have to be all dramatic and you know, everything will be okay. Know that you're going to be okay. It is going to be okay, you know? And I really really do try and live by that. You know, nothing is that dramatic. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to create drama. It just doesn't benefit anybody.
I think that's so true. And I think I love the idea of like a drama free life as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's one thing as well. Like, as you grow up and you can kind of you just like you can distance yourself from the drama and have a drama free life that is possible.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I mean, there will be people that will forever surround themselves with it. With the smallest thing, they can blow it up into a big problem. But you don't need to carry that burden with you. You can just kind of say thank you and move on. That's what I've been trying to do for a couple of years. I used to be the person to be the dramatic person, and make a scenario out to be more than it was, to get attention or to, excuse behavior, but it's something that, is only quite self-destructing, self-sabotaging. That's another thing that I think the last couple of years I've learned a lot about. It's like self-sabotageal behavior, if that is even a word. Like procrastinating or doing things, saying things, speaking badly to yourself. There's a lot of work, I think, for women in particular to do to not hold us back.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I've realized so much about myself is like perfectionism, and how that stops me doing so much. There are so many things that I want to do that I'm like, I can't do it until I'm an expert. I can't do it until I can do it perfectly. And like, that's not true.
No. Well, there's never an end point. There's something that I say to Ross all the time, like, we just need to get it up, because it's never going to be perfect. Because you might think it's perfect, and then you're going to learn something else, and then you'll be able to make it even more perfect. So just start, That's like the biggest for anybody that's like thinking about starting their own side gig or whatever. You just got to start. Just got to get something out there, and learn from that. I think that's like so exciting.
Definitely. I've loved this conversation. Honestly, I feel like it's been like a mini therapy session. It's been great.
No, it's been really nice to speak to you as well.
Yeah, and so like how I end every episode is basically you can repeat, and you've said so much great stuff this episode, so feel free to repeat anything, but is, what would you say to someone who right now they feel like things aren't going to get better for them and they don't know what to do about it? What would you say to someone who's feeling like that?
It's, what would I say? To trust the process, because I think that, like a lot of what you're feeling now will become the answer. So you just need to trust the process and know that it's all going to be okay. Like, all isn't lost. In fact, there's I'm going to go back to another really good book that I'm reading at the moment. It's called The Daily Stoic. And the other day there was it's literally the date every day, and every month is a different topic. So December is all about your mortality, which is nice, light, bright topic. But anyway, on November the 29th, I've got it here, there was a passage which says, "You're going to be okay." And it basically has a quote from someone famous. So this one is by Marcus Aurelius. Don't know if I'm saying that right. Yeah. So essentially the book is full of quotes, and then the author, which again is Ryan Holiday, I can't remember his surname, who wrote the previous book, The Obstacle is the Way, he basically then like narrates what it means. And he says, like, when you feel like all is lost, what normally follows is you complain, and there's lots of pity and self-pity and misery and lots of struggle. But why bother when you have no idea what the future holds? You have no idea what's coming around the corner, and what it could be more problems, but it could be the light at the end of the tunnel. So there's one thing that we all can be sure of, is that it will be okay in the end. It's just a journey and a process of how you kind of get there. So yeah, I think that trust the process, and you'll be fine. It will be fine. You've just got to go through all them feelings.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you found it helpful. I really appreciate all the support I get for Hey It Gets Better. It would be amazing if you could subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to your podcast. If you want some more content, then you can always follow us on Instagram at Hey It Gets Better. And for more stories of inspiration and resources to help you get through life, visit our website, heyitgetsbetter.com. I hope you have a wonderful week, and remember, hey, it gets better.